Prime Minister Leona Romeo Marlin, Disaster Coordinator and Fire Chief Clive Richardson, Head of the Met Office of St. Martin, Joseph Isaac, Representative of ESF 7 Social Development, Mark Slosh, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm Rolika Roach of the Department of Communication, and on behalf of the Prime Minister of St. Martin, I invite you to today's press conference on the hurricane preparedness and the update of Hurricane Beryl. For more on this subject, I invite the Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Leona Romeo Marlin, to address you. Prime Minister.
A pleasant good afternoon. Welcome those from the media to this press conference this afternoon. I will be giving an update with respect to our national precautionary preparations in connection with Hurricane Beryl. Since my last statement on Thursday, there have been some significant developments. The second named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season has formed into a hurricane. Hurricane Beryl, at this point in time, does not pose a threat to country St. Martin. Hurricane Beryl on Friday morning was located over 1,000 miles east of the Lesser Antilles. The hurricane is moving westward towards the Lesser Antilles. The National Hurricane Center has not issued any watches or warnings, but hurricane warnings or watches could be needed for some of the islands by tonight. Let me repeat that. The National Hurricane Center has not issued any watches or warnings, but hurricane watches could be needed for some of the islands by tonight. Hurricane Beryl is expected to approach the Lesser Antilles over the weekend and cross the island chain late Sunday or Monday. Beryl will still be a hurricane when it reaches the Lesser Antilles. Beryl is a compact hurricane where hurricane force winds extend outward from the center up to 10 miles and tropical storm force winds up to 35 miles. Even though Hurricane Beryl does not pose a threat at this time to St. Martin, the government of St. Martin has decided to take precautionary measures. An official request will be made to the governor of St. Martin for the support of the Dutch Marine Detachment currently stationed on St. Martin, on the island. Hurricane Beryl is a Category 1 hurricane, and due to a number of homes still under construction and roofs not fully prepared, the Emergency Operations Center will be taking the decision within short to open several hurricane shelters. Possible shelters that are being looked at are the Milton Peters College Gym, the Rupert Maynard Community Center, John Larmony Center, Dutch Quarter Community Center, and the Christian Fellowship Center. The general public will be updated, so stay tuned for these updates. Again, a decision will be taken within short of when we will open these shelters. I think it's still relevant to note that persons who will be making use of these shelters, should they be open, must bring along with them water, food, snacks, baby formula, medications for the 48-hour period. Families must also ensure that they bring along enough of the aforementioned for each member of their family. When the time comes, or should the time arrive, the shelter management team will provide several items such as sleeping bags, cots, and if possible, blankets. Individuals and families should first make arrangements to stay with family, friends, or neighbors and to secure their personal belongings before they leave their location. There are a number of shelters that received some damages from last year's hurricane, and they are currently in the process of being repaired or getting ready to be prepared. The shelter management team will be enforcing the rules related to safety and security at shelters. Therefore, the cooperation of those making use of the shelters is greatly appreciated. The government of St. Martin and its disaster emergency management system over the past months have been very busy coordinating and training to improve our state of preparedness and response to weather-related and natural disasters. These preparations and trainings will continue. The Emergency Operations Center, or EUC, continues to closely monitor the progress of Hurricane Beryl. Residents are advised to please do the same. I once again appeal to residents and the business community to review your hurricane season preparations by checking your disaster supply kit and reviewing your disaster plan. Additional updates about Hurricane Beryl will be provided by the Meteorological Department and the Department of Communication. At this time, I thank you for your attention. And again, may God bless St. Martin and keep us safely. I now await further questions from the media.
Thank you, Prime Minister Romeo Marlin, for your remarks. I would like to welcome our Chief of Police, Carl John, to the press conference. The floor is now open for any questions the media may have. Stephen Cerulean of PJ82, you have the floor.
Prime Minister, gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm going to start with Mr. Isaac. What kind of a weather system is associated with Hurricane Beryl?
Thanks very much for your question. The Hurricane Beryl, which is now presently a Category 1 hurricane, we have to take all necessary precautions because in terms of the models and the treatment of the models to the system, they are not treating the system as we would like it to. As you know, we use a lot of models to tell us what the system will do. And as we always say, models differ. But in terms of Beryl, because it is a very small system with a very small eye, if you would looked at it, you'd notice that the hurricane force winds just extend about 10 miles from the center. So it's a very small system. As a result of that, the models are not treating it as well as we would like them to. Also suffice to say that if you followed from yesterday, you would notice that it said east of the islands, the system would sort of break up because of upper level shear. That shear have moved a bit. And as a result of that, the Hurricane Center is now saying that it is expected that the hurricane will go across the islands still as a hurricane, when before they were saying it would by that time be a trough. So that's why we need to take all necessary precautions because there are a lot of uncertainties. The other factor we would have to look at is that initially when we were looking at the models from yesterday and yesterday morning and so on, the path would be further south from St. Martin. Now it is a little closer to St. Martin. And right now, most of the models doesn't really have any direct impact for St. Martin. But based on the whole issues with the upper level shear, etc., it is possible that things can change. And as a result, especially as we're going into the weekend, it is cognizant on all of us to take the necessary precautions.
Andrew Dick of the Daily Herald.
Yes, good afternoon to the Prime Minister and also the gentleman here. As far as the police is concerned, Chief John, how prepared are we as far as manpower? I know that that has always been an issue. Are we better now? Or do you have any mechanism in place in order to be prepared for any curfew and so on?
To start with, indeed, the police have been preparing, and we still have assistance of the police from the Netherlands. We are also getting assistance, like always, from the VKAS. For the prison, we also have assistance from Holland with some prison guards. And next to that, we are busy. We are going to advise the Prime Minister that we can make use of the military that is stationed on St. Martin.
Stephen Cerulean.
Prime Minister, during the press conference earlier this week, the Minister of Romeo said that the cleaning is ongoing. How far are you with that, seeing the fact that we are about to be approached? Not confirmed, but a hurricane?
Well, I know that the Minister of Romeo indicated that it's an ongoing project. I would only urge for the entire community to come together and assist. The faster we get the island cleaned up, the better. So it's a collective responsibility, and I would urge the community to assist the ministry or assist government in general in cleaning up the neighborhoods where it's possible. Make sure that you bring out the debris that they have indicated. I believe there is a schedule. I heard the schedule being announced on the radio as well and in the newspapers. I urge the public to take the opportunity to get rid of those big debris, because again, if you don't clean up, you increase the chances of damaging your own property and that of others.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Andrew?
Prime Minister, what do you tell the community as far as there being not at ease at this time, especially with some of the announcements you made? I'm sure that once the community gets word of everything that you said, they'll start to think on. Just last year, what do you tell them to ease their mind, especially those who don't have a roof right now?
Well, thank you for that question. What do I tell the community about being at ease? I think there's no need to panic. That's the first thing. I listened to Lady Grace this morning, and she was right on point. There is no need to panic. Pay attention to the information that is being given by the Met Office, my person, and the Department of Communication as to what is going to happen or what is happening as it relates to the weather. I think that we need to pay keen attention to where we're getting our information from. We're fighting against social media. That is something I talked to Mr. Isaac about as well, and he also brought it to my attention. It's very difficult to fight against social media because that goes like wildfire, but I urge the public that to be cautious about that and tune in. If anything, if you're going to go on social media, go to the Met Office or go to that of the government where you will get accurate information so that we could ensure that, everyone has that same information and not cause a panic. I do understand persons that do not have their roofs completed as yet, or those who haven't even started, that they may be in much of uneasy. But we are looking into this. This is the reason why I've said we're going to look to see about which shelters we can open, which those that are not severely damaged and can be easily repaired within short. As you know, I have been discussing the issue about shelter repair and getting funds from the World Bank, but that is a process. So as government ourselves, we're looking as to how we can repair some of these with some of the insurance monies that we have. Of course, we can't wait on any delays because Mother Nature doesn't wait on no man. So we are being proactive and doing what is necessary because we do know that there are people out there that do not have roofs over their head and they will need to have some sort of shelter.
We now move on to the final round of questions. Stephen Cerulean, you have the floor.
Fire Chief, my final question is for you. You have been meeting with your colleagues. Meetings have been held regularly. Is there any area of concern for your person at this time that is needed to be looked at very closely as we prepare for the hurricane season overall?
I think at the moment the biggest concerns is the loose debris that is still around the island, because if we get strong winds that can take off and become a projectile. Basically our communications is also an area of concern. Those are major concerns, and our coming together and working together is not really a concern, but we are busy finalizing everything so that we can better contribute to country St. Martin.
Your area of concern, you said communication. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Basically, there are certain areas where communication is still not fully covered with our radios. So certain areas we go into, we cannot communicate with each other. So that is still a concern with us. At the moment, we also have a shortage of equipment, which is being worked on. And that is also a major concern. Because as you notice, after Hurricane Irma, communications was a very big concern between the different organizations. And it still is being worked on, but has not been finalized as yet. So we are looking into the possibility of setting up a workshop so that everyone is trained to use the communications that we do have so that we can better communicate with each other. So it's being worked on.
Andrew Dick, you have the final question.
Just wanted to touch on the communication, and that's actually was going to be my question. As far as the communication overall, especially internet access, you know, it was kind of scary right after Irma that, you know, nobody could get in contact with anybody else besides the radio station. So are there any mechanisms in place just in case it happens again, Prime Minister?
I'm smiling. I just had a meeting with, yesterday, as a matter of fact, the Council of Ministers had a meeting with TALEM. And what we do know is that TALEM is not, everything is not fixed 100%, and they are working diligently to do such. So should we get a hurricane, God forbid, within the magnitude of what we experienced before, it will be a challenge, it will be an issue. But I do know that since that experience, TALEM has been busy. I believe UTS has been busy as well, trying to ensure that the communication lines are back up and running for everyone. I think we did a pretty good job in comparison to other islands. What we have been pressing upon as well within government is ensuring that what needs to get done to ensure that, let's say, the police department, or let's say the emergency services, which includes ambulance, police, and the fire department, that the equipment that they need to communicate amongst themselves and with the community and government, that they have that. So those are the things that you will see within short coming out of the recovery funds.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you to the media for those questions posed. This brings us to the end of the press conference. Thank you for joining us, and on behalf of the Department of Communication, I'm Relika Roach, and do have a pleasant day.